I remember when food used to give me so much anxiety. So if I didn't know the exact calorie count of something, man, I would like spin out. If I was invited to like a potluck or a dinner or even just out at a restaurant and I didn't have control over what I was eating, man, I was just riddled with fear and anxiety. And yeah, it didn't feel good. Peace with food was not a concept that I could understand because it wasn't something I had ever felt. And so today I want to talk about gentle nutrition, which really helps us to find that peace with food. But if you're like, hey, Eileen, like I feel so far from that, I want you to know that I was where you are. For so long, I really thought that I was never going to have a peaceful relationship with food. I was never going to be able to stop tracking and counting calories. I was never going to be able to like turn off all of the shame and judgment that I felt when it came to food and eating. It felt so loud in my head. I felt like I was living in a mental prison. And I'm not there anymore. Like food doesn't cause me any anxiety. It doesn't cause me any stress. It's just, yeah, like eating is easy. I don't know how else to say it other than eating just feels easy. And so today I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to talk about the important role that gentle nutrition plays. Like what the heck is gentle nutrition, right? And also our nervous system, right? So the nervous system, yeah, really is the foundation here. And so talking a little bit about um, our neuroception, like having a neuroception of safety versus a neuroception of danger. So we'll talk about this a little bit in just a chilled out, relaxed way. I'm mostly going to be just sharing my thoughts with you as I talk, because doing that allows me to show up here with a lightness that just feels really refreshing to me. And I need that. My nervous system needs that grounding. And so, if you like this style, you're going to enjoy it. And if not, there's going to be like so many other things that you can tune into and spend your time on. But yeah, I want to first start with, so yeah, I shared a little bit of my story, man. It's so much more than that. And as you come here and listen, if that's what you like, if you like my style, and if not, that's cool. There's never any offense. We all learn differently and we take in information differently, but you'll be learning more about my journey. And the reason I share that is because I really want you to know that I teach from place of lived experience. Like everything I teach and share, I've either walked through or I am currently walking through. And I think that's just a really important piece because I really believe in order for someone to help us, they have to have felt it in their body. They have had to, at some point, experienced it. So they know all of the feelings that arise with it. So, yeah, I'm going to talk a lot about, like, yeah, that's how it was for me. And this is where I am now. So, yeah, food caused so much anxiety for me. It caused so much fear in my body. I thought about food 24/7. If I wasn't planning what I was going to eat, I was stressing about something I had eaten. I felt really out of control around food. I'd go through periods of restriction and then I'd go through periods of binging. And food just was something I never felt peace around. Well, maybe as a child. Actually, if I look way, way back, as a really young child, I can remember moments in which eating felt easy and effortless, how it's supposed to be. And it wasn't until I was exposed to things like diet culture, my diets that I tried for myself, language that I picked up from other people, things I read in magazines. I started to that's when my nervous system started to cultivate a neuroception of danger when it came to certain foods. And so when we're talking about a neuroception of danger or a neuroception of safety, you may have heard these terms before, or like it may be totally new to you. But I'm talking specifically right now when it comes to food, because this is all about gentle nutrition and finding peace with food. And I think it's really important that we take a peek through the lens of our nervous system, because I think a lot of times we're like, shit, why can't I just change the way that I think? Like I'm doing my affirmations, like I know rationally, like chocolate cake isn't like a bad thing, right? I know rationally that I can enjoy it in moderation and still be perfectly healthy. But then why do I feel riddled with anxiety when the cake comes out? When the cake starts being sliced? When the leftover cake is kicking around my house, why do I feel so out of control around it? That's because the nervous system, right? If our nervous system perceives the food as dangerous and something to fear, we're going to feel it through every fiber of our being. Our body feels that. And it's not that the food is actually anything to fear or that it's bad or anything like that. It's because of the messages that our bodies picked up over the years, the restriction that we placed upon ourselves, the restriction we've seen other people do, the messages that we get on social media, the messages that we get in magazines, the messages from diet culture, just all the stuff. As we make our way through this earth, through our life, as the years pass, as time passes, our body picks up all these things, this memory, right? And our body stores it. It's stored in our tissues, right? It's stored in our body. It's embedded in our body. It's embedded in our nervous system. And trauma, right? We've all had trauma to some degree. Our trauma is going to look different. We don't want to compare our trauma, but if we've lived on this earth and we've walked some time on this earth, then we've experienced some trauma in our body. We also store that in our body. And it doesn't just go away by trying to think differently or reading some self-help books or doing some affirmations or even honestly through talk therapy. Huge advocate of talk therapy. Love my therapist. But no amount of talk therapy is going to release stored trauma and stored memory that our body and our nervous system is holding on to. And I think that's really important to understand the difference there. We release that through our yoga therapy practices, through our breath work, through meeting our body with kindness and curiosity and holding space for the release. So that's a lot of the work that I do to help people release that. And it's work that I'm doing for myself. I still have layers that I'm working through and release that I'm working through. And it's a process. But going back to when it comes to food, if food causes you anxiety, if food causes you fear, certain foods, eating off your plan, not knowing how many calories or macros you've had that day, if the idea of not tracking freaks you out, it's likely because your nervous system has a neuroception of danger when it comes to those foods. And that's not just going to go away. And in order to really heal that, we need to address the nervous system. We need to get to the root. We need to make peace with those foods, right? And this is part of gentle nutrition because part of gentle nutrition is looking beyond our plate and looking at the state of our nervous system and how it's impacting our ability to have that balanced relationship with food. And so cultivating a neuroception of safety around food, it does require that we have exposure to the food that we feel fearful around and that causes us anxiety. We want to have exposure to that food, consistent exposure, but it's more than that, right? We also have to have the foundation. We have to be doing our nervous system regulation practices, our breath work practices when we're thinking about that food. And we have to have them in place so that if we are having that food, maybe we bring some breathing in to calm our nervous system. And we also have to learn how to be attuned to our hunger and our fullness cues so that when we're sitting down and we're making peace with that food and we're applying that gentle nutrition, we don't want to show up to that food feeling ravenous. We want to show up to that food feeling moderately hungry so we can be grounded and we can be present and we can bring in our breathing and we can eat it at a slower, mindful place and really make peace with it. I'm moving into making peace with food and further away from gentle nutrition, but they're connected. All right, they're connected. Trust me on this. And so, yeah, we really want to be in that grounded state. And so our nervous system has to be in a regulated ventral vagal state. And that's where all of our nervous system regulation practices come in. And then when we're able to have that food, have exposure to that food, when we're in that grounded state, we can truly make peace with it. Now, if we are just eating it to kind of check the box, but we're feeling frazzled, we're feeling caught up in fight or flight, maybe we're even feeling almost like in a freeze zone and it's just like a screw it mentality. I'm just going to eat this, screw it. That is not making peace with the food. That is not going to bring us closer to the freedom that we're looking for. That is not gentle nutrition. That is just eating the food when we're either in a freeze state, almost like a numbed out state, or in a state of fight or flight. That's almost like a screw it mentality. That is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about making peace with food when we are in a grounded state. And that's why it's so important to nourish our nervous system, because if we do that, that's how we start to then cultivate a neuroception of safety around these foods. It's like our nervous system, like, oh, like this food's nothing to fear. It's just not like, it's not a big deal. All right. So that really is a foundational piece here. And then with doing that, let's talk a little bit more about gentle nutrition and what that actually means. So that is a foundational layer of gentle nutrition. I mean, how can we really apply any sort of gentle nutrition if we don't have that baseline, if we're fearful around food, if we're eating in a place of fight or flight, or eating in a numbed out state, almost a screw it mentality? How can we actually be applying any sort of gentle nutrition? It doesn't even matter how many vitamins and minerals we're taking in if we're in a state of fear, if our nervous system is in a dysregulated state. We're not going to be able to properly digest the food. We're going to experience the gas, the bloating. We're not going to be able to absorb the nutrients if we're not in that parasympathetic state. And so that grounding is so important, and it's not to be overlooked. And it does not have to take a ton of time. When you know the practices, the effective practices to do, it really does not have to take a super long time. It's just doing them consistently. And so that's a little bit about the nervous system, the neuroception, and the importance of using your practices to be in that grounded space when you're making peace with food. And then we can start to really bring in that gentle nutrition. And gentle nutrition really looks like, instead of looking through this lens of restriction and cutting things out, it's looking through this lens of, hey, like, what can I add in that's going to help me to feel really well? What foods can I bring in that are going to really help satiate me and help me to feel really nourished? So for me, I love adaptogens. I love adaptogens. I love drinking cozy adaptogen drinks. They really help me feel very regulated, very grounded. I love a variety of fruits and vegetables. If you ever watch my Instagram stories, I would say almost every meal I show on there, I have color, I have fruits, I have veggies. I love trying different unique grains. I love bringing them in. I love the different texture. I love exploring that. I love oils. I used to be so scared of oil, and I love a really good quality olive oil, a good quality avocado oil. Oh, I love avocados, baby. Like I'll eat like probably an avocado a day. And I just love that. I love those foods. I love how they make me feel. I love the nourishment they bring. But if I did not address the root of my nervous system and really learn how to cultivate a neuroception of safety around these foods, I would not be able to be nourished by them in the same way. I hope you're seeing this, because the fear blocks the nourishment. So to be able to just like fry my eggs in olive oil and not be like concerned with, oh, exactly how much olive oil did I have? Like, did I only, I just, let's drizzle that in, baby. Let's do a little fry of the eggs. Let's watch them bubble in the oil a little bit. Let's watch the light, casting down on the pan. Let's like just see the texture as they're cooking. And so all of that is a really important part of gentle nutrition, but it's so missed. The mindfulness, the being present, the not being fearful. And then, yeah, I mean, gentle nutrition also means if you are wanting some chocolate, if you're wanting a homemade cookie that come out of the oven, man, that smells so good. And having that without fear, from a place of kindness and compassion and mindfulness, and really savoring that and really enjoying that, and really experiencing the texture, the aroma, the sweetness, the taste, the memories attached to it, and allowing yourself to have that full experience. That is gentle nutrition. Yes, the science behind it, what's in the food, the vitamins, minerals, all of that, all those things really do matter. They do. And we want to have a balance. And I, typically will have a carb, a protein, and a fat. I'm not calculating it. I'm not rigid about it. If I'm like one day that doesn't happen exactly for a meal, it doesn't really faze me. But I notice that I don't feel as balanced and I don't feel as well. If I was only going to have like some toast, I'm going to physically feel much different than if I have toast with avocado and egg and I have that protein and that fat in there. I'm going to feel really different physically, and I'll be satiated for a different amount of time, right? Just the toast, I won't be satiated as long. I may experience dip in my energy level, crash in my energy level. I may not feel as well. It doesn't have to, we don't have to demonize the toast. We don't have to be like, oh, that toast is so bad. We don't have to do that. We can have the food neutrality. But the truth is, there's a reason that having the toast with the egg and the avocado satiates me longer and allows me to have more stability with how I feel. There's a reason for that, right? And so we also want to hold space for that. But again, let's go back. If we don't have the root and we don't have the foundation of addressing the state of our nervous system and cultivating that neuroception of safety around food, if we do not have that, how can we expect to be able to do the other practices? How can we expect to build the gentle nutrition on top of that? We're not going to be able to, because we are going to overthink every single thing, and we're going to be living and moving out of that place of fear. So I hope this was helpful for you. When I realized this, it shifted everything for me. And I hope it does the same for you, because you do not have to live in fear around food. You do not have to live with that anxiety around food. You can have peace with food. You can apply gentle nutrition. You can get your mind back. You can get your life back. But I really do believe, if I'm being very transparent with you, I really do believe it starts with healing your nervous system and looking through that lens and really cultivating that neuroception of safety when it comes to food. So if you enjoy this, stay tuned. I'll be back here next week. I'm trying to post a video each week. That is my intention. I'm an imperfect human, so if I miss a week, I'll be back. But my intention is to try to post a video each week. So if you enjoy this format, you enjoy what I'm talking about, definitely subscribe and stay tuned. And thank you for being here.